Hi, welcome and welcome back. My name is Yu Win. You can call me Yu Win or Win, and I am really excited to be here with you. Today is a different setup, if you can tell from my headphones and the lighting, but I appreciate your acceptance and your patience. I will be back to whatever's next the next time we see each other. But I wanted to take a moment and share a quick practice before today's topic that I go on to share with you about. So, has to do, and it's kind of similar to yesterday's, where we're coming to the heart space. But when I think of heart centered, this is something that grounds me. So, if you exit and just allow, you know, your lungs to empty, on your next inhale, I want you to imagine that you're breathing in through and to your heart. So if you're like breathing in oxygen, it's like coming through your pores and like your feet, and you're breathing it all in and it's coming into your heart center. And then it's exiting in your exhale from your heart out through your pores and your head and your hands, your arms and your legs. So I just imagine that when I'm breathing, I'm inhaling everything to my heart, and then I'm exhaling from my heart. And I sometimes imagine, like, if you've ever done an inhale and an exhale where you imagine taking things in and releasing things with the exhale, with the inhale. Sometimes I might imagine what I need and coming into my heart. So I might imagine or think about love. So I'm inhaling love. And then what is it that I want to release or share? So I'll exhale gratitude. So I'm inhaling love to my center, and then exhaling gratitude out in all directions. So take what supports you and leave what doesn't. But if that's a tool you'd like to add to your toolbox, I happily share it with you. And then for today's topic, I wanted to start the long and probably many uh, video conversation around community. I did say that I would, but as someone who did not grow up connected to community, I didn't know what I was missing until I experienced and my family experienced a really big loss. Um, and you know how sometimes you like go through life and something feels like it's missing, but you don't know what. You just know like something's not full or doesn't feel complete. And so I didn't realize this until my father had his heart attack in September of 2020. And at that time, it was myself, my oldest brother, and my mom. And so when he came back from the hospital, we were, like helping him with like getting his medications and, um, helping him out and the things that we could do. Hmm. And I remember um, wanting to take a break, but not being able to. I remember struggling with sleep because I have always had sleep issues. And so it was just really hard to sleep with the worry that something could go wrong. And so at the time, I had started doing more like video calls with Zoom, and I had messaged and emailed people I was connected to, and I invited them to a couple of different sessions, these sort of circles that I was holding. And the question that I posed to everyone was, like, how do you build community? How have you experienced community? And a lot of it was so that I could be in community with them, right? Especially because, COVID was still raging and there were no vaccines, and I hadn't really seen anybody. And so, um, as the date drew near, I can't remember, I think there were two different sessions, but one of the sessions happened to be scheduled for after my father passed away, which I didn't know was going to happen. And so that was a very tender, it was a very vulnerable session, but it started me on a journey of looking for community and learning about community and being curious about it for the first time. Um, and so I want to say that at the time, I had done an intake with behavioral health department, and the psychiatrist that I was working with, she also shared in um, like an ethnic background with me. She identified as Vietnamese and like Vietnamese American. And she was asking me what was going on, why I was seeking treatment and services. And then she asked, like, oh, well, do you have, aunts and uncles or like cousins? I was like, no. She was like, what? Um, and so, I was clarifying for her, and she was like, oh gosh, like, I don't know how I would have been as a human, let alone, this experience of grief. I don't know how I would have been if I had grown up without, like our extended family. Because, if I was upset with my mom, or if I like needed a break from, my siblings, I could go over to my cousin's house, or I could visit my grandma, and I didn't understand, right? And so I was hearing about community. I was working, with my boss, and she was talking about growing up, living with her extended family, like all in the same like piece of land. And I was like, talking about, right? I don't understand this. And so that was really like the more intentional or like clear introduction I had to community, even though I was still separate, right? And so that was 5 years ago. And I'm still very curious about community, but I've also seen and read about and witnessed just the lack of community, not just for myself, but for others. And so, really just wanting to bring it up and say that the way that our society has progressed and evolved, it seems that community is not as important as it used to be, especially when we have like technology and modern day conveniences where, you can have a lot of things like sent to you or done, or somebody else can do it for you, right? So, um, If you are experiencing a lack of community, I want to say that that's the norm. Um, Especially, like if you like grew up in a nuclear family, or um, if everyone's sort of scattered around the country or the world now. Um, so just wanting to normalize that. And I think there's also a lot of qualities or things that will reinforce the lack of community, because it feels like convenience is one of the most important values. And so convenience doesn't really lend itself to community, right? Like, I don't want to inconvenience myself for somebody else if I don't have to. I don't want to inconvenience someone else if, I can figure it out or suck it up and deal with it myself. And so, as I am exploring and learning about community, I would really be grateful and really happy to hear, like what kinds of experiences you've had with community and what ways you are cultivating community, or where you're finding community, or where you see it, even if you're not a part of it. Um, yeah, I'd really love to hear your thoughts or your experiences if you're willing to share. And one of the ideas that I will share the handle and the username in the notes, but there was a post that I saw on Instagram where this woman, I believe it's in Canada, she was working on her PhD, and she had done this post about communities of becoming. And I was really happy to see it because I was learning about the art of allowing from Abraham through Esther Hicks. We talk a lot about like focusing on our energy on who we're becoming and not just getting stuck on like who we are. But it sort of merged these two ideas about community and support and love with that freedom to continue to be and become who we are becoming. And so, yeah, I think it's not just important for me to have like a community of proximity, people who are nearby, if that community doesn't allow for or honor like the changes and the growth and all of the learning that I'm doing, because I'm not going to stop learning, and I'm not going to stop reflecting, and I'm not going to stop sort of learning and evolving with those things that I learn. And so I'll share the post because I won't do it justice if I try to talk about it right now. Um, but these ideas around community and honoring our whole selves, and even the idea of wholeness. Um, yeah, there's a lot on my mind today. It was a very active day, but I know my energy is low, and my throat is feeling really dry. So I do apologize, but I just wanted to come on today and say hi and tell you how grateful I am that our paths crossed, even if energetically or virtually for now. And if you do have any ideas, any experiences, anything you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. You can also feel free to reach out to me. If you look at the information tab. But I do hope that wherever you are in the world, I hope you can take a deeper breath. I hope you can soften into the space that you're occupying right now. And I hope that you know or are willing to believe that you are worthy of love exactly as you are. I look forward to connecting with you again soon. But until then, take good care. Okay, bye bye.